Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. Hey everyone, and welcome to All Together, the Family Science Insights podcast, produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week, we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm your host, Dina Sargeant. Now, let's get started. Hey everyone, and welcome back to All Together, the Family Science Insights podcast. I'm Dina Sargeant, your host as always. Over the last 8 weeks, we've gone through a wide variety of topics that aim to help us improve our family life. Our guests have volunteered their time to help shed some professional insight on the matters that concern all the familial ties that occur in our society today. I would like to personally thank all the guests that have taken time out of their day to join me for this podcast. Even with the connection failures, busy schedules, and time differences, they've all powered through with me. From early marriage preparation to family finance and function, we've all been guided and at times advised on the different ways that can make or break a family. For our recap episode, I'll be going through a summary of the discussions that occurred during the last 8 episodes. When I first heard the phrase family functioning, I described it to myself as kind of like an oiled machine where each cog needs each other in order to function properly. No, I'm kidding. I did Google that, but I did see it relating to family communicating properly, so I think I was half right. Ashleigh Chapman joined me on the episode and taught me how children can take on parental roles in a family, the change in family hierarchy that has started to take place in society, and also the natural response to keep the status quo despite its toxicity. We even use examples of a child who is so used to conflict and unable to accept a healthier approach to a family discussion, as it's so uncomfortable to be any other way. Change is hard enough for an adult to accept, let alone a child. However, there are some instances where the toxicity is no longer tolerated by either side and can cause an estrangement. Now, I've only ever heard or seen of estranged families on holiday movies like Home Alone or August Osage County. But after talking with Dr. Joshua Coleman, I was definitely stunned to find out just how common it actually is. Joshua joined me from San Francisco as a practicing psychologist who told me how much this discussion is lacking in today's society. We spent time talking about the reasons why estrangements can occur and the effects that it has on other family members. One part of the episode that stood out to me was just how effective distance has on relationships. It was really interesting to hear how some relationships improve when you set up those boundaries with other family members, especially when it comes to communication. Now, breaking up a little theme, the next episode focused on preparation for marriage with a partner. This was a topic I enjoyed shedding some light on because a lot of us don't actually know how important this part is in a marriage. There's so many things to discuss with your partner even before tying the knot, financially and emotionally. Linda Bloom was the perfect guest for this segment as her and her husband Charlie are both marriage counselors who write books and hold workshops in the US for people who are going to get married. It was insightful talking about love like it's not a fairy tale that we've grown up thinking about and seeing it more as a commitment to another person to share your feelings and grow with each other. Hearing stories from their early marriage and to what they've built 50 years later is a pretty great thing to see. It very much allows reality to show you that sometimes even going separate ways with your partner is a beneficial thing. In episode 4, we talked about separation and divorce as not always being a bad thing. Sometimes it allows both individuals to grow into themselves in a way that could not happen together. Donna Cameron is a specialist that works with children, adolescents, and adults for both anxiety and breakups, as well as being a marriage and couples counselor. Talking with her on the ways divorce can be beneficial helped me to see how important it is to put yourself first and understand that we're not living in a fairy tale, so forcing things to work out is never going to make either side happy. We talk about the ways to implement boundaries while co-parenting that are going to release tension, as well as how to be a role model for children that allow them to see the benefits of it as well.
Now, there's a fun fact. One of the highest causes for divorce in the US as of 2021 are results of arguments about money. Now, did anyone as a child ever get told of your family's financial situation? Because apparently that's the best piece of advice Jeffrey Hill has shared on our episode, Money Talks in the Family. Jeffrey is a professor of family life at Brigham Young University who teaches classes in family finance to about 1,200 students per year, as well as being an author for the Fundamentals of Family Finance, Living Joyfully Within Your Means. Following his episode, we talk about how trusting each family member to understand and contribute to the finances allow each member to learn the value of money. Having these conversations of finances are important to help relieve the stress or tension amongst the different personalities of family members. It was really insightful to actually point out that each family member have a different background or different understanding and perspective to money, i.e. the saver versus spender. So having the conversation as to the reality of income and outgoings was important to keep a family communicating. In episode 6, we talked about the communication between siblings as almost being crucial to the development of each other's qualities. This became such a personal topic to me as I relate to the relationship of having a sibling. With Fern Schumer Chapman joining me on this episode, we got to talk about her specific view on her estrangement with her brother for over 40 years. From her personal experiences, we went through the practices she used to reconcile with her only brother, core values of listening and understanding each other's experiences, and how it affects relationships with our siblings. Having family in your life may be difficult in some circumstances. However, it is beneficial to have family members around during some of the most difficult times. In episode 7, Michelle Juarez came onto the show to help understand the mourning period that takes place after the delicate situation of a miscarriage. Michelle and I spoke about the perception of family in today's society, looking into her experiences as a licensed professional counselor. While there are many causes for miscarriage, we focused on the misconceptions that occur both within the family and outside the boundaries of familial ties. The most relayed lesson within this topic is looking into how to support a family member going through this process, and also what not to mention during this time. To me personally, that was the biggest takeaway from this episode. Supporting the other family member or friends is so important to help get through this situation. In our most recent episode, we looked into how managing expectations as an individual and amongst family members is a difficult situation to go through, especially when everyone's mental capability and time frame looks different. Each family member plays a role and holds responsibility in managing the household. We focused on balancing work and life and looked at it through the perspective of a young adult. Tia Hama joined us from her personal productivity podcast, Work in Progress. Being a student living out of home, working is definitely necessary to gain financial freedom. But building a routine is definitely impossible when you're a freelancer and able to work at all hours of the day. This episode, we both agreed on the difficulty of balancing or even staying on top of all aspects of our life, with one part always losing some time or effort. Being able to talk and relate to someone in the same headspace and financial space was really enlightening and calming. Now I know I've learned so much in the last few episodes of our podcast, especially the ways to talk to family members in a healthy and productive approach to enable a deeper connection to family members. Thank you so much for joining me over the last 8 weeks and coming towards the end of the year. Our next few weeks will be putting me to the test with trying out the different practices our guests have suggested on the show. I'll be looking into spending time with my sibling, finding a calm and healthy communication strategy, as well as setting time aside to plan out my finances. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey and for your support watching and sharing our podcast. You've been listening to All Together, the Family Science Insights podcast. I'm your host, Dina Sargeant, and thanks for listening.
You've been listening to All Together, the Family Science Insights podcast, produced by Family Science Labs, a division of LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. More episodes are available from 10 life management perspectives and can be found by searching LMSL on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcasting apps available on your smartphone. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, share, and subscribe to our channel so that other people can find it and we can continue to provide quality content. More of our work can be found on our website at fa.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Dina Sargeant, and thanks for tuning in.